Hey guys, this is RDJ. I've had a bunch of people ask me how I make my belts, specifically how I get them to wrap around like that on the ends, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that. I figure the more people on Fedwars that are doing quality graphics, the better. So if anybody wants to see how I do that and copy it, go ahead. I give you full permission. Just do your best, and if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a holler. Okay, well, anyway, I'm in GIMP. I use, well, this is 2.6, but it really doesn't matter. Everything I'm doing here works in all versions of GIMP. So, okay, step one, we're gonna make us a new file. 640 by 400, sure, why not? Doesn't matter. It's just a test build anyway. So I'm just gonna make us a real basic plate. I'm gonna put it on its own layer. Doesn't need to be anything fancy because, like I said, this isn't a belt I'm doing for anybody. I'm just doing it quick so you can see how I do it. So we'll make that middle plate kind of a goldy orange. Why not? And just for the sake of it looking different in the lesson, I'm going to add another little shape to it. So now we got this kind of weird oblong, looking plate, but that'll work for now. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to make the belt behind the main plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that new layer up in my layers palette. I'm going to say alpha to selection. If as long as it's on its own layer, where you see that checkerboard behind it, this will work. Alpha to selection. So now we get a selection that looks just like that plate. Now we're going to create a new layer above the background but behind the plate. And we're going to go edit, grow. And then this depends on the size of your image, obviously. I usually work in much larger image sizes than this. But for this size, 10 pixels will probably do the trick. Okay. Now if we make our plate visible again, you'll see that we've got us a little border. Let's pick a nice leathery color. Obviously, you're going to want to use a texture when you do this for real, but for now, we're going to fill it with that brown. So it looks like we kind of got like, a leathery belt behind the main plate. So far, so good. Okay, well, we got our main plate, we got the belt behind it, but now we need those straps I was talking about. So the tool you're going to use for that, or the tool I use, is the path tool, this little pen here with the control knobbies. I don't know if you've ever used this before. If you're used to any vector design program like Illustrator or Inkscape is the free one that kind of goes along with GIMP. That's all that is this. But GIMP's got its own little version that's not quite as robust. So we select it. We're going to pick a point kind of along the curve of the edge of the belt, and we'll kind of curve. I'm clicking and holding down the left mouse button to pull out the handles, and that'll give us our curves. I'm going to click at the end, kind of where I want the belt to loop, and I'm not worried about the curves on these guys. I'm just going to quick click, and then we'll go ahead and we will hold this one because we want to kind of duplicate what we did on the top, and then we'll click right about on the bottom where we clicked on the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and go in a little bit, we don't have to worry about showing any white. I'm going to hold down the Control key, and I'm going to click on the first point, which closes the shape. So now we've got a closed shape we can edit. So now we're going to keep it on design, and we're going to move these points here that are the edge of our belt where it's going to curve a little bit, just so we have a nice shape. We'll make sure everything kind of lines up with what's, top and bottom and whatnot. Okay, now we're going to add some curves to these. First, let's go ahead and click on this line and just kind of move it over a little so it's got a little curve to the end. That's cool. And you know what I didn't do? I'm going to edit and undo that. Sorry. Hope you're not following along with me. We're going to make this point a little lower because we want that curve of the belt. I'm going to actually do the same with the one on top. Make it a little lower. Then we're going to click the line like I did the first time. Make it a little round. Then we're going to click this guy and do the same. Then we're going to use these little handles to kind of control how we want that curve to go. So it's kind of got one of those shapes to it. Same thing on the bottom. We're going to actually make this one kind of sharp because we want to make it so it's going to end up looking like it curves around. So yeah, that doesn't look half bad. Not my best one, but it'll give you the idea. So now we've got our shape, we've got all our curves. You can click on design, actually just click anywhere. Oops, that doesn't do. Don't just click anywhere. That was a bad idea. Edit maybe? Click anywhere? Move? Click anywhere? Nope. Ah well, click on one of the, that kind of works. This one. Sure. There we go. Okay, so we got our path. Now, that is the top of our belt. You guys have always seen how I have the back that flips around and that's a little darker and really makes it look like it's 3D. That is its own separate path. We're going to do that next. It's not part of this path. So now that we've done that, we still have our leather color selected. We're going to come down here again on the Paths tab, and this red box here, and it's still red box in the newer versions of GIMP. Path to selection, we're going to click that, and you can see already it's a selection now, so we're good. Let's create a new layer. We can eventually merge all the layers of our belt, but for right now we'll keep them separate. Then we're going to go Edit and fill with that brown, and then we can go ahead and select None. And if we click, something and click off our path, you'll see how we kind of got a belty shape. Like I said, this isn't great, but it's more about the steps and less about the end product here. Okay, so now we'll do the back part of the strap. So the first point I usually do on this is the one that's right at the point of the upper strap, and then I come down and do a curve that kind of matches what I want the curve of the belt to do. And I'll do one more point, and I'm going to make this one like a real flat curve, so it looks like the end of a belt. And then we'll click up here and hold down Control again and finish off the path. And that's pretty much all it is for the bottom one. The bottom ones are typically pretty easy. If you want to go through and fine tune your curve and stuff and make sure it lines up and really looks like a curve would, I would suggest it. We can come through and just kind of click and monkey around with it a bit to make it look a little more like a natural curve, whatever you want to do. Then same deal as before, we'll come down in red box, path to selection. There we go, it's a selection now. Let's create another new layer. Okay. And we're going to make our brown a little darker. There we go. I had one pre-done, but you can use your box. Pick whatever you want. The only reason it doesn't really matter at this point, because you're really going to go through and add texture to these anyway. The way I usually do that is I have a selection of textures, large texture files I keep in my library, leather and all that good stuff, and I'll copy paste it into this design. And then you remember how I did the leather for the back of the main plate. You'll do an alpha. Once we do all these guys, let's finish this first. Sorry, edit fill. There we go. And click off it so our path disappears. Select None. It's on top of the back belt right now. We don't want that, so let's click and drag that layer and move it. How come that isn't working? This was giving me a hard time earlier too. There we go. Down arrow. That'll work. So now you see, that's for all intents and purposes, that's what every RDJ belt does, whether it comes down or goes up or whatever. But that's how you get the curve. So now what we would do, let's say if you want to do the other side, the easiest way to do that is just select your layers, duplicate them, have your move tool selected, right click, come on, layer, and transform, and flip horizontal. And you may have to, monkey it around a little bit with your arrow keys or with your move tool or whatever to get it to line up exactly, but it works. Same with the back belt. Bam. Right click, layer, transform, flip horizontal. We're going to have to do the same deal. It's going to be the same number of clicks with the arrow button as the first one because it's off by the same amount. And for all intents and purposes, there's the belt. Just doesn't have any of the texture or the fancy doodads on it. So if I wanted to add the texture, the leather texture to it, I would find a good leather texture. I'd make sure it's sized so that the pattern is going to look good at this particular size. I would paste it into this image, and I usually have it over the background as the bottom layer. And let's go ahead and do this. The light brown, the reason I made them all the same color is we can merge them together. So we're going to merge down, and then let's go ahead and take our main strap. Dang it. There we go. And merge down. So now all of our light brown is on one layer, and let's do the same with our dark brown and put it all in the same layer. There we go. Now, if we had in fact, let's just do it real fast. Forget about it. I'm just going to make a layer here. We're going to go edit. Just real quick here, I'll just make something. Clouds. Sure, Plasma. Whatever. Uh, layer, colors, desaturate. Sure. Colors, colorize. Hue, brown. Okay, good enough. That kind of looks like leather. It'll work for now. So now we have that on its own layer. Now if we take that light color brown and we right click on it and say alpha to selection, same deal, it's kind of a red box. So now we've got the shape of the brown. Now we click on that leather-ish layer and we're going to do edit, copy. Feel free to use the shortcuts. I usually do. It just doesn't look good on a video if I do it that way. And then Control V or edit paste. And make sure you say new layer. And we can move that down below our plate. There we go. And then if we do so usually what I do for the back strap so that the pattern doesn't look like it's obviously being duplicated, I usually bump it up a couple times. I'm using shift and the up arrow to do that with this move tool selected. Now we right click on the dark brown, say alpha to selection, same deal. Select our leather E layer. I'm just going to do the shortcuts. Control C, Control V, and new layer. We'll move that down below the other one. Dang it. It's getting me every time here. And we can make our plain ones invisible as well as our back invisible. And then our back straps, this back strap layer down here, we want it to stand out, so we can go colors, brightness, contrast, and there's a lot of different ways you can do this. This is just the quick and dirty way. Brightness, let's turn it down. Yeah, there we go. And I mean, there you go. That's basically how I do it. So you got yourself a roughly leathery looking belt with a plate on top that doesn't look like anything fancy, but that's your job, not mine. You go make a fancy plate. This is a video about how to do the strap. One last thing I've just started doing on my newer belts that's really helped them to look a lot more realistic is I use the dodge and burn tool. I'll come in and first we'll select the top layer. I'm going to pick midtones. I'm going to pick a nice soft brush, one of those, fuzzy. And I'm going to burn the bottom real quick. I didn't get as dark as I wanted it to, so we're going to go highlights. Just do a strip of dark on the bottom. You're just darkening the bottom of that belt. There you go. And let's make it a little bigger. And do the sides too, the edges. That kind of furthers the illusion that it's wrapping around. And then we'll select the back belts, and we'll do the same thing. We're going to burn. We're probably going to have to pick shadows, but let's see what it does with midtones first. And we're going to go and, yeah, we're going to have to pick. Let's go ahead and undo. We're going to pick shadows. And we're going to do a swipe with the burn tool in here. Same idea. It gives it a look that it's actually curving around. There you go. So yeah, it looks pretty sharp for just being a quick leather texture I made myself. Not bad. Okay, well, anyway, that's how I do it. Hopefully that is helpful to you guys. Thanks to Dave Demented for asking how to do it and getting me motivated to make this video. His stuff he's come a long way. His new graphics are pretty freaking awesome. So I encourage everybody to take a look at Dave Demented's threads on the main forum. And I'm sure if you would like a belt like this, he will be doing them sooner than later if he wants to. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to PM me if you have any questions about how I did this, or if you want me to do more graphics tutorials on some of the other stuff I do. I do a lot of manipulating of existing images from Google Images or Bing Images, or whatever the easiest image search you have handy is, and incorporating those into the belt. How I do my chrome effects in GIMP, which is a little trickier than doing it in Photoshop. It's actually the one thing I'm jealous of the Photoshop users, is that they have this nice, handy, easy layer style filter for metals, and I got to do the whole damn thing by hand. So if you want to see that, let me know. I can do that too. Or if you have anything else you'd like to see done as far as graphics, I mean, including banners, layouts, whatever, I can do those too. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. RDJ signing off.